Jared Dillian. Now you know a rich guy.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. I like watching 60 Minutes. They have pretty good stuff. I used to watch it when I was a kid. My grandmother I used to live with my grandmother and used to watch it with her. And I don't know. It's pretty good journalism. Like I've always liked it. They went after Amazon over the weekend. It was a bit unfair. Apparently, there's some Amazon workers that are upset that they don't have enough protections from COVID-19. They feel like they're being exploited, and they had the head of operations from Amazon, and he was defending Amazon, and they were kind of going after him, and it was like swatting a fly with a Buick. I mean, this guy is like, he's got a 200 IQ. You just can't go after this guy. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, I was watching 60 Minutes, and there was a piece on the economic impact of the coronavirus. So they had all these people. It was a bit like poverty porn, you know. I mean, that type of thing sells nowadays. There was this woman, her catering business went to hell. She's broke. Another guy was 55 years old. He got laid off. First time he's ever been laid off in his life. First time unemployed in his life. And then you had this woman as a paralegal, and she got laid off. And she said she had some student loans. So they said, how much do you have in student loans? And she said, I have $300,000 in student loans. And I just got up from the couch. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I can't. How are they doing this with a straight face? Okay. If you take out $300,000 in student loans, that is your fault. Nobody's fault but your own. Your fault. And we have a terrible system. It's a terrible system. The government is the lender. The government does not make credit decisions. The government does not evaluate your ability to repay. It is essentially free money. It's free money on the way in, but not on the way out. And I don't understand how you service the debt on $300,000 in student loans. I mean, that's like, first of all, it's going to be like 8% interest. That's a mortgage payment. It's more than a mortgage payment. That's like $4,000 a month. How do you make that work? It's your fault if you do that. That's the most amount of student loans I've ever heard in my life. Absolutely astounding. And the terrible, she didn't say what schools she was going to. And I should be careful because, one of the things I talk about whenever I talk about higher education is the fact that if you're going to like a top 10 school, then you should just take out the loans and pay for it. Just go to the school because your earning power will someday match the debt and you'll be fine. I don't think this was one of these situations. She was getting an MBA. She was living in Philadelphia. I don't think she was going to Wharton. And the other thing I talk about a lot is law schools and MBA programs. Do not go to a law school or an MBA program if it's not a top 10 or 20 program. Because your earnings power just is not going to be that great. We have it's you're going to get an MBA from a third tier school, and it's going to cost you just as much. It's going to cost you $80,000 a year or something like that, and you're going to have this MBA on your resume, and when you apply for jobs, they're going to look where you went to school, and they're going to know it's a third-tier school. And a lot of people think, I have an MBA, so my earnings power will go up. It's absolutely not the case. Not the case. No. That's not how that works. So if you have $300,000 in student loans working as a paralegal, I often say that there's always a way out, okay? You can get a second job. You can get a higher paying job. There's ways to earn money. No way out. That's game over. You're trapped. I have no advice. Absolutely no advice. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to be said. So, and the piece, the 60 Minutes piece, was designed to have you evoke sympathy for this woman. Like, oh my God, this woman, she got laid off. She has $300,000 in student loans. I have no sympathy. None. What do you think when you're taking out these loans? Like, are you putting any thought whatsoever into how big the payment's going to be? Are you going to pay this off? Like, I don't understand it. How the hell do you take out $300,000 in student loans on a paralegal salary, making $60,000 a year? If you saved 17% of your income, which is $10,000 a year, you would never pay those loans off in your life. Never. It's impossible. Yeah, I got an email one time. I don't remember the context. I don't remember why I got this email. I think I wrote a piece and somebody found me on the internet and they sent me an email. But it was a woman she had $200,000 in student loans and she had gone to a third-tier law school and she was making $45,000 a year. Totally trapped. And she said in the email, like, I'm suicidal. And I'm like, oh, I can't help. There's nothing I can do. No advice. Actually, I did give her advice. I said, you need to get a higher paying job. That's all I could say. But the sort of the cruel reality of this is that people think that being a lawyer is a higher paying job, but it's not. It's not, Unless you're working at like a high powered law firm in New York and you make partner and you're making like $800,000 a year. But like just doing like, if you're a bankruptcy lawyer in somewhere, I don't understand it. So we need to talk about math. We need a math lesson or something. Unless you go to a top tier school, the most debt you can reasonably take out for undergrad is $40,000. You pay $10,000 a year, you have it paid off in 4 years. If you go to college, your goal should be to have the student debt paid off in 5 years. After that, it doesn't make any sense. I know people who are in their 50s, and they're still paying off student loans. Doesn't make any sense. How does that happen? It kind of makes me mad. It does. It makes me upset. I mean, I'm upset at everything. I'm upset at these people. I'm upset at the system. The whole thing sucks. It's bad. So, it's like a car. Like, you want to be done, you got to pay it off in 5 years. You don't want to be paying off student loans in your 50s. And some people they say, I'm going to die with this debt. I'm just going to pay the minimum and I'm going to die with the debt, and that's all. What? You don't have to have debt. You don't have to have any debt. You don't have to have car loans. You don't have to have mortgages. You don't have to have student loans. And it's very hard to eliminate all your debt, but the best you can hope for is to minimize it. I don't feel sorry for somebody who has $300,000 in student loans. There's a house in my neighborhood that I want to buy. I talk about this house all the time. I am sweating this house. I want this house. And I said to my wife, I can't afford this house. And she said, oh yeah, you can afford it. But you just don't because you're smart. I'm like, we can't make the math work. She says, you could make the math work. You could take out, the mortgage. I can't do it. I'm not putting myself in a position where I'm taking out a mortgage and I have like a $14,000 mortgage payment. I'm not doing that. And the woman with the catering business went to zero. She's broke. And she never thought that anything like that could happen. And, one of the things we talk about is that anything can happen. You have to be ready for anything, and you have to have emergency funds. So anything can happen to me. Like, my position, we are all in a very fragile state. That's what people don't realize. We do not realize how fragile our existence are. I could send out a dumb tweet. I could write something stupid in a newsletter, and overnight, my whole business is gone. That could happen. So this concept of fragility, I like to talk about things being anti-fragile, the opposite of fragile. You want to have an anti-fragile financial condition. If you have $300,000 in student loans, it's a very fragile financial condition. And I'm not saying that nobody deserves sympathy, because many people certainly do, but not a situation like this. People should be more scared of debt. Debt can help you achieve your goals, but you want to use a judicious amount of debt. You want to be very conservative. Even $40,000 in student loans is a lot. See you next time. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.